people seem to be lost as to what exactly is going on in the Ukraine and what's going on in Europe. Well, before you go to the Ukraine, you have to check what was happening in Britain. The European Union, the Dan tribe, the nations, and all their heathen affiliates were trying to take over Britain using a group called Common Purpose and something called Neuro-Linguistics Programming, and they were heavily involved with the Masons and the police, the British military. Some British generals and all even got targeted by them and had their kids taken off them for not complying. European generals is too in the military for not complying with the dictates of the new fascist regime. And Ukraine is now a fascist country. So basically it's the Dan tribe you're talking about, because the fascists were into witchcraft and channeling in spirits and all sorts of mad shit. So basically the two allies that defeated them was Russia and the USA, and under no circumstances whatsoever will the men of Russia and the USA allow a resurgent Nazi Germany or Nazi Ukraine. So that's the Dan tribe. There's the Dan tribe are in this island as well, but these were the sneaky ones. These never let anybody know, because these were the main crew of the Dan tribe. There's an ancient covenant of witches that exist here in Ireland called the Tuat De Danann, and they're heavily involved with the Vatican and the priests, but they're 100% are witches. They fully support Nazi Germany they fully support Nazi Germany, and they wouldn't deal with Winston Churchill in the war. They said they'd wait for Hitler to get here. They were happy for this country to become a Nazi state. There is a lot of fascists. They are actually an element of the fascists that worship the master race. They keep it well hidden though, because they're sneaky. There's nothing more sneaky than the Dan tribe. If you look at the Book of Invasions and you listen to the Book of Invasions, it tells you how the Dan operate, and you can analyse them. You can by their behaviour. So they had to flee from Greece, because they were using witchcraft to reanimate bodies and stuff like that. That's where the first vampire story came from. And the Greeks were fighting against the Scythians, and every time the battle was finished at the end of the day, the Dan tribe, the two of the Danann would come in and do some sort of black magic and raise up the dead bodies for the Greeks. And the Scythians were losing against them. The Scythians is where the Mongols came from, the tribe of Benjamin, by the way. So basically, they put a stake. Druid told them, in order to kill these undead, you have to put a stake through them. So they put a stake through them, and that was that's where the vampire story of the stake Bram Stoker comes from. So then they retreated. They legged it, because they thought, they're going to kill us, because they're cowardly bastards. They always operate in gangs. If you ever, they are a windy shower of cunts. They have to operate in a gang. They'll kick the brains out of you in a gang. You get 10 coppers or something kicking the shit out of you, or 20 screws. That's the way they operate. And they leg it. They legged it, he did anyway, when they thought they were going to get killed. So basically, they moved to Ireland. And then there was another tribe who were descended from them. They spoke the same language of them. And they came, and when the Dan came to Ireland, and they conquered them, but they gave them 1/3 of the island, because a witch always needs someone to practice witchcraft on. You know, witches, and like they're a vampire, the type of psychological vampire. So basically now what you're looking at is you're looking at the calamity of Esau coming upon the Dan tribe. The Lord said, "Flee ye, dwell deep, turn back, O inhabitants of the Dan. For I will bring the calamity of Esau upon him at the time I will visit him." So the Dan are not mentioned in Revelations. And it looks to me that now you're seeing the initiation of the Most High walking amongst the nations of the earth to purge the Dan from the earth once and for all. Because he says he hates them. He hates the Dan tribe because they're witches. The Most High says you shall not suffer a witch to live. So if he's telling you he doesn't want them to live, he will have absolutely no problem with wiping the whole lot of them off the face of the earth. Because it's very rarely that he tells you he's ever given instructions to wipe out a whole race, other than the hybrid, what were they called? Bulls of Bashan. And coincidentally, the Dan tribe are actually stationed in the Bulls of Bashan territory, and there's a lot of iconism and statues of bulls all over Dublin. So basically, the Irish Army is in the Golan Heights, and that's where the Bulls of Bashan are originally from. So you're looking at two witch covenants, ancient witch covenants, hidden. But basically, the main witch covenant operates out of the Vatican, and they had links to certain elements of the CIA, but I don't know if that's still applicable now, because that's where MK Ultra and all of that stuff came from. But basically, in Ireland, you have neuro-linguistic programming. You might have my mate had a wife. She went to a job. They sent her off to training, and she was happy as a pig and shit with him, and they were getting married and all. They were with one another 20 years. She went to get training, and they were using neuro-linguistic programming and the power of suggestion. They must have been anything. They're given all this training, and it's called building confidence, but basically they're looking for victims to see who the right people are. So Brexit happened because of a group called Common Purpose. The base office for Common Purpose in Dublin is right next to Brother Luke's in Smithfield. That's the Common Purpose office. Common Purpose are a bunch of witches as well. And the Dan tribe is going to get finished. So how you know the Dan tribe have a comfort zone? They have 4 cities in the north, in the northern hemisphere. And they have one city here, Dublin. In order to defeat an enemy, you have to take him out of his comfort zone. So one of these cities in the north has definitely been identified, because when the Dan went up to live with the Nordics, the Nordic tribes were so impressed with their witchcraft that he gave them 4 cities. And when he gave them the 4 cities, they wanted them to teach their children witchcraft. Yeah? Now, witchcraft is very bad, and witchcraft only brings destruction. You should not suffer a witch to live or have a witch among you, because a witch operates with dark forces and entities, and they could be the prettiest looking woman or man, that your handsome man you've ever seen, but they have all these dark spirits and dark forces around them. In the occult, Hitler was mad into the occult. And so are all. The Dan tribe will always be involved in the occult and black magic. And the Lord is adamant that you shall not suffer a witch to live. So increasingly, the pagans in Europe, in the European Union, are trying to build a European army. Basically, it's the Nazis, the remnant of the Nazis in disguise as something else. They're trying to raise up the 1,000-year Reich or some shit like that. But basically, it's all witchcraft. And they worship a master race, a race of giants. Now, the Dan tribe are said to be, on this island in particular, are said to be hybrids. They're not like me and you, although they look like me and you in a infant form, because we have to change into new creatures in Christ. So we're like only in our infant form. And when we start to change, the faithful, the ones that aren't being discarded by the Most High, and get our new bodies, it'll be apparent who the actual human. See, the human race is damned. The human race is a fallen race. That's why Jesus says you're a new creature. So that means you're no longer a human. So humanity is to be enslaved. That's all there is to it. The Most High says that you will take the heathen as your bondsmen and bondswomen. So the majority of humanity are going to be discarded anyway, but they're supposed to be our bondsmen and bondswomen, because we're Hebrew. But if we're of the Catholic faith and all, you're still humanity. If you're the staunch Catholic idol worshipper, repetitive prayer and priest lover, calling a man father when you only have to call the Father in heaven. Jesus says call no man father, but you have one Father in heaven, so you're calling him God. So basically that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the Lord at work in the nations of man.